Hello, everybody, and welcome along to this election special where we're going to be chatting with some of the candidates running for the local election here for Mayo County Council. So joining us tonight, let's see if I can bring them up on screen here. There we go. So we've got Garie Beattie from Ballina. We've got Aron Kelly, who's running in the Claremorris area. Hello, Aron. We've got Marian Gordon, also running in Claremorris, and Joe Ducey running in Ballina. So I'm going to start with Marion, if I may. So Marion, ladies first and all that. How are you today?
I'm not sure I fit that description, but yeah, I'm good, Stephen. It's actually Swinford. So I'm doing the Swinford district. Claremorris is Aron. So Swinford, yeah, Castlebar, Foxford area. So yeah, but look, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for this evening. You're doing powerful work yourself.
Fair play to you, Marion. Well done. So listen, just maybe we'll start off. I would just want to go around the house first and ask everybody just to tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, who are you and what do you do, Marion?
Right, I'm from Bahola. I'm a recruiter. I've just recently qualified in trauma-related care, and I am living in Kildare. Returned from UK a number of years ago, just in time for COVID. And I just got into this because I needed to learn. And the more I learned, the more I was worried. And the more I was worried, the more I wanted to ask questions. And I came to experts like yourselves, and then we started to just have meetings, and then they've turned to hold the lines, and then somehow found ourselves on the road to politics. But it's all really about getting the word out there, because we know how media is. So to try and get as many people talking and asking questions, and that's it.
Very good. You mentioned there, Hold the Line was the campaign you were involved in. For people that don't know about that, will you just explain to us what it was, what you did?
Oh, absolutely. So Hold the Line was set up by the Sovereign People and David O'Reilly and Fiona Foley. And the idea was that they would use the yellow boards and all of the topics that were concerning people at the time. We would try and make people aware. So whether it was the housing, the 39th Amendment, whether it was the WHO, it could be wearing masks, it was the lockdowns, and it would just to be hold to stand at a street corner and to meet the people, hand out leaflets, and to just see what the concerns were, but to try and ask questions. But it was gently done. Like for a long time, the most I could hold up was Turf Life Matters, because I was, whereas other people were happy to hold up their concerns about COVID and the vaccination. But it turned out that nearly every town or certainly every county in Ireland would have a representation of some sort of Hold the Line or Wake Up the City in Dublin. And it was a great way of just informing the public, and people would just come to you and tell you their stories. So yeah, it's a great initiative.
Brilliant. Fair play. I want to bring Aron in here now. Aron, bear with me for a second here. So Aron, you're running in the Claremorris area. Maybe you'll start off by just telling us who you are and what do you do, Aron?
Okay, how you doing, everyone? My name's Aron Kelly. I'm running in the Claremorris electoral area, and I am running under, same as Marion there, I'm an independent under the Irish People Party, which is a new party. I've been living in Garie now for, I think, about 9 years now, and I'm glad Marion spoke about Hold the Line, because, yeah, that's basically my story. I'm basically a street activist guy. 2019, pre-COVID, I was organising 5G, trying to get 5G stopped in Ireland. Then COVID happened in 2020, so obviously I've been out the street about the masks and all the rest of it, the coercive nature of the vaccinations, the lockdowns. And then post that, again, so I was involved with the Hold the Line. I was taking care of the web end of things at the back. So I'm very much kind of have been an activist now for at least 5 years now at this point. And the Irish People is, if you like, the progression of that. It's the trying to move away from being somebody who is pleading with the people in power to do the right thing. Now we're attempting to become the people in power with the power to do the right thing. That's kind of the very loose. Now, the thing about local politics is that kind of any of the policies we have within Irish people now are very much kind of national, at a national level. They're not going to be able to be achieved by local councillors. So on the local, so basically what I'm offering the people of Claremorris is basically that sort of a character. I'm documenting my whole political campaign. I've been recording in Mayo County Council now, asking the hard questions. And basically that's exactly what I intend to do. I won't really have any power as a local councillor to make any sweeping changes to kind of national policy. But I can get in there now, and if I can get into Claremorris County Council, I'll be doing what I was doing on the streets for years, basically. I'll be asking the absolute hard questions, demanding answers, recording the answers, and basically trying to bring some transparency into Mayo County Council. That would be the kind of the layout of the, you know, the layout of the stall, as it were. I think probably just leave it there because I'll give the others a chance to go in. That's the broad strokes, as it were. And
just before I move on to the lads in Ballina, just you mentioned your YouTube channel there, which you've one video, for example, you recorded when you were in the county council, when you were registering to become a candidate, like, you know, so and also when you went into the Garda station. There's some interesting videos there. Just tell people your YouTube channel so they can have a look.
Yeah, so I only started the YouTube channel when I decided to run, which was basically the Tuesday after the big protest in Dublin. So I think it's only about 2 or 3 weeks old now. So I think if you just go to, if you type in Aron Kelly, Aron Ceallaigh into YouTube, you'll see a bunch of my videos in there, and that'll get you to my channel. And so in there, yeah, if you like, if I get elected to Mayo County Council, what you can see on that channel in terms of documenting, doing a video log of the whole political campaigning process. Hopefully that will become, that will extend then into actually within Mayo County Council. And that's exactly what I intend to do. And I say that's really, in terms of power, because there's not much point, you know, obviously the mass immigration, the housing, the indoctrination of our children in schools, these are all kind of my policies, but I'm not going to be able to do that as a local councillor in Mayo County Council. So this is kind of what I reckon is the most I can do, or certainly my step one, in terms of bringing transparency. Because people can say, oh, I'm going to bring transparency into Mayo County Council, but what do you actually mean by that? So I'm giving very specific. I mean, I'm going to be walking around with the camera, asking the right questions, demanding the right answers, and putting it on video and recording it for all the people of not just Claremorris, but all of Mayo to see what's going on in the council. Because at the moment, it seems like they are in a different world to us at the moment. And as ordinary Irish men and women, look, it's up to us now at this point to kind of, if you like, barge in that door now and try and get some answers to what's going on in this country and this county.
Thanks, Aaron. I'll bring the two lads from Ballina up and have a chat together, if that's okay. I know both of these men for a good couple of years now. We've been involved in different campaigns over the years to do with home and farm repossessions. A lot of the time we'd be in court trying to help people out, and with Joe and his anti-corruption task force. Is that right, Joe?
That's correct, yeah. That's right, Stephen, yeah.
Just pointing out a lot of the corruption that's going on in the court and with the Garie. So I suppose for people that don't know you, because I know you reasonably fairly well, so maybe Garie, start off yourself. Just tell the people at home who you are and what you do, what you're all about.
So my name's Garie Beattie. I work as an outreach worker in a local community program, and part of my remit is growing vegetables, learning how to grow them, but also going out to vulnerable people's houses and just doing odd job services for them. And part of that is probably the visit more so than the work. And because of that, I've been able to connect more and more with more and more people, especially since COVID. COVID hurt a bit there. But like, I've been an activist for a long time. I suppose I started before the water protests back in 2013. And the big thing for me back then was suicide. It was a huge thing. And because of it, I started following the main reasons behind it. And it was normally debt related and things like that. So we ended up going to the courts and following it in there. And Stephen, that's, I think, where I met you and Joe and other people, because we all ended up there for one reason or another. And so since then, I've been supposedly, I've been acting, I suppose, in a capacity where I'm helping people to try and stay in their homes, but also securing homes for people who don't have any, via council lists and things like that. And I've been doing it, I suppose, under the radar for a good few years, but I've had a lot of success at that. And the reason I'm running, it's quite simple. Top-down politics does not work at a local level. And I think, like Aron and like Marion and like yourself and like Joe, that if we had enough people in there, we could make actually a change, and we could change the way the councils actually work at a community level. And we can understand then and probably bring the voice of the people in there, because it's not there. None of the people there at the moment represent anyone but party politics. And it's the wrong way to approach it, especially with the troubles that we're having. Like here in Ballina, we're having massive issues with IPA centres, with pyrite house. The whole town is, half of it's fallen down. And there's loads of other issues behind that too. And I'm running on many different issues. It's not one. And it's over an awful long time. An awful long time. So that's who I am. And canvass is going great. Every house I've been to, it's the same issues. How refugees, things like that. And people are really up for a change. So I think this election could force a general election.
All right, fair play. Thanks, Gary, for that. We'll come back to talk about some of the issues in a few minutes and the response you're getting on the doors. But just before we get to that, Joe, for people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Hi, Stephen. Yeah, well, my name is Joe Ducey. I live in Ballina. My history is quite a long one. I've been fighting corruption, I suppose, 24 years. It all started with incidents with the Garie 24 years ago. I was 33 years of age, and they basically persecuted me for many, many years after that. For a good many of the years I had to take it, but then I started to fight back. I must have been an easy target for them for a long time. I gradually got to learn of the corruption in the Gardaí, in the courts, and that travelled then into government and whatever, you know. And once you're awake, and that's what woke me up. And I started then to see the corruption in every aspect of life. And because I was always fighting in the courts, a lot of people came to me with their problems and to see if I could help them, and we compared notes. And it gradually introduced into other things like Tussla and the corruption that was in there. Lots of us were writing to TDs and ministers, and of course no response to any of this corruption. It was all ignored, you know. At election time, you'll see a lot of these TDs and ministers and everything. They'll pay lip service to every problem that's out there, but there's no one that's, you know, there's no action taking place. So I'm kind of a different kind of person. I will take action, and I will make noise, and I'll do what has to be done. And anyone that wants to see evidence of that, there's loads of videos there on YouTube. You're in some of them yourself, Stephen and Gary. You just have to flick them back. Was I there all the time? I was.
Oh yeah, don't worry, we're listening to you.
So YouTube there, there's a lot of evidence there of what we used to do in the past. And I mean, basically, you know, the perspective why I'm running is because I've tried in the courts to address things. I've seen how bent the court system is. Justice is not to be got. So I probably have a bigger picture in my mind that depending on if there's a mandate after the council election, maybe there's a party, I hate the word party, maybe there's a mandate there to set up a management team that can take over this country and just wipe out the corruption once and for all. But in order to do that, it takes people with morals, integrity, there has to be honesty, there has to be truth, there has to be trust, all those things. You know, even though it's in every party policy and it's in your constitution and it's in everything in this country, when it comes to applying this, it's not applicable. Everyone that I know in government or have seen, all the mainstream parties, they're there for brown envelopes, kickbacks, the tell lies. Like, you know, it's just gone too far. And I mean, corruption, which I'm involved in, anti-corruption, it's at the center of everything. That's why you have IPA centers there. Someone's on a kickback, someone's making money out of it. It's people trafficking, it's whatever. You know, every walk of life in Ireland, is just follow the money trail. It's rotten and it's corrupt. And the problem with politics is that, you know, it shouldn't be a career. It should be a vocation. And that is not the case in Ireland, you know. So I think there's too much money in politics. There's too much backhanders. Politicians have too much say actually in this country. And I believe, you know, it's all right to have politicians and whatever that deal with the minor stuff and whatever. But the major issues like the IPA centres, that should have gone to a referendum to see how many of the people had allowed in, or did they want them in, you know. Instead, you had a government that railroaded over them. Everyone, you know, you're voting, for years people have been voting in governments that have turned around and dictated to the people instead of the other way around. Governments don't realise that they're servants, and that's what they're there for, and they've no respect for the people that put them in. Now, as I say, County Council, I think Aron said it there, and Garie, we can't solve the problems of the world, but it's a start to gather the momentum to bring down the rotten, corrupt system that's there. And I think, you know, I think there's people like-minded coming out that are prepared to do that now. So we have to unite, however it's going to be done, but we have to move forward and we have to stop what's going on.
Thanks, Joe. I want to bring back in Marion here. I know everybody has kind of touched on the various issues that they're concerned about and that they're trying to highlight. Joe, you've spoken a lot about corruption there, and people can check out your YouTube channel for all the videos you've made over the years. I'll bring in Marion now. Tell us, what are the main areas of concern, the main issues that concern you that have led you to putting yourself forward?
I think we'll be here a while if I go through them all, but there are some that I first of all I was thinking, for in each area, if we had a representation of independents, that to give an alternative to the people voting from the main parties. So it was, the first reason was really to be able to say to the people in the area, particularly in Mayo, that's where I'm from, and I love the people there. It's my home, it's where my parents were, my grandparents were part of the old IRA, they were part of the Black and Tans, they fought the Black and Tans. So there's a history there of not letting them down, you know, not it just feels like you need to not let them down on our watch. So I think the first thing was the housing, and I was seen as a big company in Swinford called Big Red Barn, and the amount of people I knew locally that were trying to get modular homes and getting properties on their land, and they were being refused to do so because of the council wasn't giving them permission. And it was where there would be three sets of generations living in the house, and somebody would want, and it would be away, you know, from everyone, and it would all the restrictions that they were coming under. And yet modular homes were being built for people who weren't Irish, and it didn't make sense. And we know one particular family who are now renting, they weren't able to build on their land, and they rented out their home, and they're living in a different home because they couldn't afford their mortgage. But they wanted to buy one of these modular homes, and they had a lovely place to put it on their land and couldn't do so. But it was Portland, and it was the politics of it all was ridiculous. And then I'm a recruiter, I do recruitment, so I'm always recruiting Irish but non-Irish foreign staff all my life. But I would never, ever put somebody working beside yourselves or your partners or your daughters or your sister or somebody that I wouldn't be very confident in knowing that they had their visa, they had their passports, I had vetted, I had checked their references, and that's all before the skill set. But here, this is, and you know, this is different. This is where the people are, they don't have those records. They don't have anything like that. And how can you comfortably put somebody like that working or even in the same building as your loved ones, not knowing what their background is, not knowing what they may have done, and God forbid anything happened. And it's something's happening every day, even though we're not being shown it in the media. So that was the second part. So I work with a lot of foreign nationals as well, who each year, and with the direct provisions before any of this happened, and the amount of paperwork they've had to produce and the skills and the hard work they've had to do in order to get their citizenship, in order to achieve it, and they're working in the different hospitals and they're paying their taxes. And for them, they're scared too, because they're being moved out or moved away so that these other people are coming in. And some of them have kids in school in the local areas. So, you know, I keep seeing it on the community basis. I would say, personally, I'd be very community driven, and I would know more. And again, we'd have a huge amount of suicide. And then my last, during COVID, I qualified in trauma-related care, and it was something that I've been doing for years, but I actually finished my exams. But it's to deal mostly with mental health and trauma, and the amount of suicides and the amount of drug-related suicides and the amount of financial and drug-related suicides that's not spoken about. And it's not in the towns and the cities, the big towns and the cities, it's in the small towns too. The places like Castlebar, Oxford, Swinford, Ballina, Castlebar are rife with drug problems, mental health issues, and suicide. And that's heartbreaking too, to see that not being addressed. And then I would see all the politicians, and like, I think it's hilarious. Well, actually, no, I think it's not hilarious, but I see them going around to house now, and I see them saying, I hear what they're promising, but they've had 4 years to do all this. They've had 4 years, and they are talking about the roads, and they're talking about jobs, and they're talking, but they are not talking about the real hard issues. And that's what I like about this. I like about the Irish people. I like about the independents and people like yourselves. You know, you're not shying away from the real truth, the hard stuff. And it doesn't make our life easier at all. It makes it very difficult. In every aspect of our lives has been more difficult in the last 4 years. But, you know, we know we're on the right track, and we know we're doing the right. We'll die happy knowing that we've done our best.
Yeah, fair play, Marion. Thanks very much. Just to mention, Marion and Aron are both part of this party, the Irish People. And for people that don't know, you can check out their website, but it's kind of a loose alliance of independents, basically, that just have to subscribe to certain principles, which you'd imagine most normal people would. Anybody would sign up to those principles. So essentially, you are an independent. There's no strong whip system or anything like that. You can have your own voice. You can do what you want. So just for people, just to let them know that. All right, Aron, we'll bring you back in again, Aron, and maybe just if you want to go into a little bit more detail on any of the issues that you're concerned about, Aron, and I'll just unmute you there. Excuse me. There you go. Oh, I think you might have to unmute yourself, Aron. Yeah, okay. Good man.
Okay. Well, okay. So yeah, I mean, if you like, the two main issues that I have, it's the out of control mass immigration into the country, which is very much the issue at the doorstep. Certainly, what I'm getting at the doorstep is mass immigration, the IPAS centres, the housing crisis as well, which for me is very much intertwined with the immigration crisis. So yeah, that's what that seems the majority of what I'm getting. Almost in every doorstep, I'm getting that. And then in different areas, they have their own issues. Like, for example, up in Knock, I mean, there was the immigration and the housing thing, and then it was basically they want to know, were you pro-life or not? And that was their two main issues, you know. And it's different in different areas. But my kind of top two concerns, one is the IPAS centres and the out of control mass immigration into the country, tallied in with the housing crisis, because I think the immigration crisis is one side of a coin, because we also have a migration crisis. So what we actually have is we have thousands of foreigners coming into the country under a promise of their own homes, while our young are meeting these people at the airports, leaving the country because they can't afford their own homes. And this is just a level of insanity and common sense that it seems that everybody in Ireland, except our mainstream parties, the RTE and the NGOs, can see. And I think this was very much highlighted last night. I was down in Claremorris Town Hall. So the Claremorris Community Radio were putting on an event for, meet the candidates. So all the, people could come down, hear everybody give their 5 minutes, answer a few questions, all the rest of it. Over half the candidates didn't show up. All the mainstream parties did not show up. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin. One Fine Gael woman showed up, and that was it. The rest were independents and and people who weren't in power. And I was a little bit nervous about that now, because obviously I kind of thought I was going into the kind of the belly of the beast, as it were. I was going to be. It was going to be, hundreds of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael people in the audience, and all the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin candidates would be there. It was a very, very different scene. As say, most of the candidates, the main parties, didn't have the courage to show up and actually face the people and answer the questions. The crowd was absolutely on board with the independents. When I walked into it, I thought I was going to be the outsider, and absolutely not. The one Fine Gael lady who showed up was clearly the outsider. It seemed like most of the candidates, all the independents, and the vast majority of the crowd were all on the same wavelength in this. But then you have this, and I say it's not. It doesn't seem so much lying. I mean, it really did seem like they're in a different world. They're in a bubble where they don't see what the average Irish man or woman on the street sees. There's all the usual gumph of legal obligations and international obligations about, these standard lines that they throw out. Mm-hmm. So the main issues for me appear to be, now the second main issue I have is the indoctrination, the woke indoctrination of children in school. I think that's horrific. I don't understand why it's not I don't understand why parents Ireland-wide aren't screaming about this. And again, the only reason I can think about that is they don't actually know what's going on to the full extent that it is going on. Because there's the age and appropriate sexual material stuff, but then there's the queer, trans nonsense that is totally confusing and damaging children, in my opinion. That kind of with my personal one, but definitely in the doorstep, what I'm getting is immigration and housing. Those are the two main things.
Good man. All right, thanks, Aaron. Now I'll just bring Garie in again. I know, Garie, you have mentioned a lot of the reasons or the main concerns you have, but just to give you another go at it there, just to let people know.
The migration obviously is the big one. It's countrywide. Housing has always been an issue in this area. I've been fighting on housing for years and years, and along with you, Stephen and Joe. Yeah. We've all been banging on about that for a long time. And the housing report recently that came out, it's shameful for the government in many ways. But other issues here, and they've been ignored because of the two main issues. We have a massive issue with childcare. There aren't childcare facilities anywhere, I suppose, outside of the big towns. A lot of the smaller towns don't have them. And because of that, a lot of these people have to migrate into the towns. It seems like a rural depopulation method in a way. And the way they've gone after farming as well in North Mayo and all over Ireland is a concern for me too. And another one, back in the day, we used to, before the 2008 crash, and this is often ignored, we had a lot of good home health all around the country. We actually had that. And it's been taken away, and virtually lots of old people, and I'm seeing this on my canvas, are being ignored by the system, and they're just, it's sickening to see it. If they don't have an asset, they don't matter to anyone, apparently. But they matter to me, and they matter to Joe, and they matter to you, Stephen, and to all of the people here tonight. They matter, and they matter to a lot more people. And one of the things I want to push for if I do get elected, or when I do get elected, is local, I suppose, community employment schemes or outreach programs to reach these people, because these people have lots of stories, lots of history, and they've virtually been forgotten about since 2008. A lot of people, and they've been quiet. They had no voice. So I want to bring their voice into the council. I also want to bring the voice of the town, of the people's issues in the town in relation to housing, in relation to migration. I also want to be the ears at that table when they're making those decisions, so that people can be informed, because a lot of the times at the moment, nobody seems to know what's going to happen or what's going on. There's a lot of there's a severe lack of information from the corridors of power. And I absolutely believe if we get into the council, it does give us a voice to demand answers. At the moment, we're asking all the questions and we're trying to demand answers. But if we got in, any of us got into that council, we can demand answers and hold them to account. And as well as all those other things I was talking about, like there's other issues. The water meter programming is virtually done. Aron are in charge of all the water networks in Ireland now, and all the local councils. All that's left is the bills. So I believe in the next government, water charges are coming in. And they're going to probably bring it in under the climate thing or something like that. So there's so many issues that because of this migration issue in particular, a lot of the other issues, local issues especially, are gone onto the back foot. And we're hearing them now on the doorstep, and that's just a sample of it.
Very good.
There's one big one as well, and it's mouldy houses all across the country. And it's caused a lot of illness as well, these kind of mouldy houses. And on my canvas, I'd say out of every 10 houses, somebody has brought up the mould issue. And
yeah.
I don't know what. It seems to be a massive problem at the moment. But
I did a video just there a few weeks ago, actually. Two people live in a house in Knock, and they're actually they have a 2-year lease, and they're renting it from a member from Ceallaigh, and the house is, I mean, it's, I don't know how you'd spend a night in that bloody house. And they've been there, they've been in touch, had the council out to have a look at it. The council have produced a damning report, and the landlady, the member from Ceallaigh, the member from Ceallaigh, who's the landlady at the house, she has a couple of weeks to get it up to shape, like, but she hasn't done any work on it. So there'll be another video out on that soon. But yeah, it's crazy, Garie. I'll just stick with you there, Garie. So we know who you are and various issues you're campaigning on. But tell us about your actual campaign. Like, what's your campaign? What has that consisted of so far, and how are you being received by people?
First off, I didn't do any posters. I actually don't think they improved the area in any way, shape or form. And I don't think any of us politicians or wannabe politicians are actually good looking enough to go up on polls. Maybe Joe, he'd be the exception. But my thing has been leafleting. It's been social media. I was off social media for years. I only reactivated 2 weeks ago when I decided I was running. And I had an idea in my head that I was going to run for a while, but I kind of wanted nobody to notice me coming and come in at the last moment. And, you know, that was a surprise on my part for a lot of people. But I suppose my campaign is just going out there and meeting the people and listening to them. A lot of them aren't being heard. A lot of these, as I call uni party people that are going out, they're kind of, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do, and blah, blah, blah. And that day of politics is gone, I think. And lots of people, they just want to be heard a little bit. And I'm not knocking on every door. I'm doing lots of leaflet drops. I know my name is good. I've done a lot of work over the years, and people remember that and whatnot. So I'm just hopeful that with Joe running as well on other issues, and me running on the issues that I'm running on, and there's a few other independent candidates, that the momentum is in our favour. I'm starting to believe that might be the case from what I'm hearing on the doorsteps. Now, I've never ran in a political campaign before, so I don't know if the whole electorate is duping me or not, but I don't think so. I do think there's going to be a few surprises in this election. I do. And can I just bring in one other thing as well in relation to housing? And this is particular for Mayo County Council, if any of us do get elected. It's to do with the if you present yourself as homeless to Mayo County Council. And for example, if somebody presents themselves to Ballina, they're not going to get any emergency accommodation in Ballina, where they probably maybe have a job or have kids in school or anything like that. More often than not, they're moved up to Claremorris or Ballycastle or Castlebar. And a lot of that, from some of the cases I've worked over the years, it seems to me that they're doing that to force them to, I suppose, not access the emergency service. And then if they're not accessing it, then they're not really homeless. And I think that's something that we can definitely change if we get in there. And it only needs one of us to change that. I think in relation to the pyrite thing, and as a councillor, if we get in, we can argue that for the contractors, and I don't know if people know this, but if you're in Ballina, if you go around to any of the estates, almost every estate has it. Not all of them, but almost all the new ones. And they have pyrite issues. And as it stands at the moment, they say there's a 100% redress scheme, but it doesn't actually work out like that. Lots of people are going to lose tens of thousands of euros. But when it comes to the actual contracting of taking down the houses and building them back up, the contractor has to put his own money in at first. They don't get a start-off amount. They don't get a little deposit to get them started off. So sometimes for the contractors, it's 3 to 6 months before they get the first stage payment. And during that time, they have to pay their employees, they have to buy or get the supplies themselves. So they're putting their own finances at risk. And that can be changed. That's a very simple change. In relation to housing around me, there's a lot of flats that can't be rented out because they can't get insurance because they don't have fire escapes. That can be resolved at a local level by Mayo County Council. I'm also saying, if I do get in, I will be in the courts when they do go after the people with the evictions, because I think after 16 years now of the 2008 crash, and they're still pursuing family homes because of that legacy debt, I think that's disgraceful. I think in the days that we're in now, that all has to go. Like a lot of people, I know one case in particular where it's in for 11 years, and the stress alone that has brought on that family is terrible. And these stuff, they're never talked about. But if any of us get into the council and we start to mention those stories, all of a sudden people, I think, will jump on board and help out in these situations. Ireland has potential. Mayo has potential. Where I live, Ballina has potential. It's just that the wrong people are there at the moment. Yeah. Enough of us, there's 79 or 80 people running in this election. There's at least 30 different people that can go into that council and make a hell of a difference. And I'm putting my hand up for that. Joe's putting his hand up. We're all putting our hands up because we care. That's absolutely what it is. We absolutely care for our communities, our people. We love Ireland. We don't hate it. Yeah. The people that are on top at the moment seem to hate it. And that's my position at the moment.
Thanks, Gary. That's great. Marion, so you've told us who you are and what you're all about, but maybe you'll tell us now, how's your campaign going? What are you doing for your campaign and how are you being received by people?
I think there's a mixed reception. So first of all, we're having meetings and meetings, town hall meetings, and they're going very well because they're combined with the people going for Europe, for John Waters, Jerry Waters, Aron, and a number of candidates coming together and having meetings. So that works very, very well. And the social media side of things is going very well too. On the doors, I'm finding that I'm the first they'll say, sure, no, sure, we voted Sinn Féin last year. We're not happy with it. We mightn't even vote at all this year. We don't know what to do. But then when you say in an ideal world, what is it you'd like from the council? Well, it's not the roads they're talking about. They'll come out and they'll say, might be something to do with housing, or might be health is a big one, and waiting lists, and people that have children with disabilities is a big one as well, and schools and getting into schools is another one. There are carers. They don't want to put people into their loved ones into a care home, but they can't see what else they're going to do. There's so many other areas. So I'm making a list and I'm saying, well, they're saying, well, what can you do? What can we do? Because we don't see our councillors, we don't have anything to do, and they're all corrupt anyway. And it's almost like they know it. And it's got to the stage where, say, for example, in Swinford area, there's the biogas problem there. Well, the people instrumental in putting the biogas contract together are councillors, or some of them have left now. But there should be a conflict of interest there, or they should at least declare their conflict of interest, if nothing else. Nobody should benefit financially from a contract that's supposed to be for an area. And I think it's the same with the IPAS centres. If no one on the council should be able to benefit from a financial transaction that's involving the council in any way, or the people of the area. So I think the corruption is so, like Joe said, it's so transparent now. It's almost like you'll have to go back to scratch and start again. The housing is the part where the farmers on the land this year are struggling, because it was so wet they couldn't let their cattle out, and they wouldn't change the laws, or they wouldn't help them with regard to the fertilizer, and they couldn't put fertilizer down on wetland, they couldn't put slurry down on wetland, so they know they're going to struggle next year. All the new regulations that's coming in with the farming, with the penalties, and that's a huge problem as well. It's making them feel like there's no point in complaining. They're getting put in courses back to Westport on a daily basis, or not daily, maybe monthly basis. If they get something wrong, the fines are heavy. People who have sheep and cattle this year, they're saying the ground was so wet and soggy, and they couldn't keep them in, and yet the feed was so expensive. So it's definitely, there's so many different problems, and it's all bound by rules and regulations in Europe, and carbon, and it just has so many different legs to it that you nearly need to go to each house, take their problem and say, look, I'll see what I can do, and we'll come back to you, but it might take a while, but we'll do our best to get back to you. But their response is, what can you do? This has been going on for years, and how can you change it? And I think that's where they have to all go. They all have to go, and there has to be enough people in there like ourselves that are going to be asking the questions. Why is this? Why, where is the housing list? Why are all these people still on the housing list? How come these centres are making so much money? Who are these people that's making money? Are they living in the area? What are they giving back? Where are the conflicts, and why are they there? Where's the conflict of interest? But we're used to being unpopular, so I think if we do, and we are lucky to get elected, I don't think we'll be popular. I don't think we'll have an easy time ahead of us. But it'll be certainly worthwhile. It'll be easy to just keep asking the questions.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Marion. I'll just bring Joe back in, and same question to yourself, Joe. How does I think you told us before you haven't put up a huge amount of posters, but what have you done for your campaign, and how have you been received by people on the doors or around the town?
Yeah, I don't agree with lavish campaigns and expensive campaigns, and I think that's the problem with the mainstream parties. Too much money made from corruption, and then it's propaganda, it's indoctrination, both for us again. And unfortunately, it works to a certain extent, So I put up 6 posters on polls. One of them was robbed. That'll probably show up on a poll after the election, past the date they're supposed to come down. Basically, house to house, giving a flyer of what I propose to do. I've got a great reception everywhere. I have virtually done all the Ballina. I just have a few little areas to do. And then it's to do the towns on the peripheral of Ballina. So the feedback has been very good. An appetite for change. I'm not promising anyone anything. They know what I stand for and what I've been doing for the last few years. What I'm trying to get out there is that Ireland at the minute is suffering a campaign of genocide by those in power. Genocide being the destruction of a society. It would appear that our so-called leaders think it's all right to destroy Ireland's culture. What we are, a nation of friendly, honest, generous people on the ground I'm talking about. That doesn't travel upwards to our government. They're complete. It's a free-for-all once they get into government. I agree with every issue that Garie and everyone else has brought up. I think that's the plan that they're at. They're trying to divide us all. They're destroying us. There's so many problems. None of us know what to concentrate on. But the one thing we do know is that corruption is at the centre of everything. Someone is benefiting financially or powerfully or whatever. And that's why it's great to see people coming out that are going to try and seize this power from them, take it out of their hands. And that's what has to be done. And I'm not claiming that I'm going to be able to do anything if I become a councillor. I'll probably be able to do very little. But what I'm telling people is it's not about me. You put me in there, I'm going in to lead something. But I can't do it without the very people I'm talking to backing me up and standing in support. I've told them what I'll do is I'll go in, I'll expose everything I can. And the stuff that people should be knowing about what's happening in their community and it's kept from them, that has to be exposed. That's an obligation on all our behalves. And I think it's wrong to put a government into power for 4 or 5 years, and to go away and nobody knows what's happening and they just do what they want. So I think there has to be, I don't like the word politics, and I never wanted to be a politician, but it's just that the corruption was getting so bad. I think this is the year everyone that was thinking the right way decided, yeah, I'm standing up now. I've had enough of this. If this is the way I have to go in to stop it, I'm going to do it. And that's why I'm doing it. But yeah, it's great to see so many people, and I hope we can make that change. But I think if enough people come forward, we will be able to make that change. It's just the way we go about it. But I think more people need to be involved in what's going on in their communities. I feel that a councillor's role is to explain to everyone what is going on in the community. We all know the problems. We all know the issues. We're not happy with the immigration. We're not happy with pyrite. We're not happy. They're all issues we know. But you need a person to go in that can distinguish what's right and wrong, pinpoint the problem, present both sides to the people and say, right, what do you want me to do? And I think that has to be done, that if anyone gets in, that they meet with the community regular and they're in touch. Because I know I've never seen politicians come near me and I've had a lot of problems. And years ago, I wrote to 166 TDs and however many was in the Ceallaigh and whatever. And, when I was being framed by Garie and whatever, I didn't get any replies. None of them helped me. And I did that loads of times at great expense, registered letters, emails. They didn't want to know. So I'd like to think if I got a letter or an email from someone that was in trouble, that I'd address it and at least have the decency to talk to them and see what I could do, But look, that's what has to be done. We have to get up off our ass. There's no point in paying lip service to these problems. It's time for action now. And I believe that those that have wronged us in government have an awful lot of skeletons in the cupboard, and they need to be made accountable for what they've done. They are traitors. They're committing an act of treason every day in this country, Ireland is our country. Ireland owes no one nothing. The people of this country built it up, There's none of us racist. There's none of us terrorists like we were described by the Sinn Féin mayor in Derry, That is just bull talk, to put down anyone that's speaking the truth and make them look like far right or whatever it is. So, look, I see a change. I feel the movement on the ground, and if I can be part of that, I'd be delighted, because I have a serious issue with corruption in public office. I want to stamp it out. I want to bring it down, and that's what I'm going to do my best to do.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Aron, we know that you have a YouTube channel and you're videoing most of what you're doing. Other than that, what have you got? Posters? Have you got flyers? Are you knocking on doors? How's the campaign going, and how are you being received?
That's a crazy question. I'm delighted that I have the YouTube channel, because if you hit me with that question cold now, I'm not even sure I'd be able to answer it. It's been an insane few weeks. Started off literally on the Wednesday after the protest in Dublin. I literally had no idea what I was doing. I heard there was an event up in Ballina, so I got the name of the organizer and phone. That turned out to be Marion. So then there was another event after that. Then there was another event. So first 3 nights were events. And really, there's been, for me, it's been quite like that. Very, I don't want to say disorganized, but just it's kind of just unfolded in front of me. And I suppose a kind of perfect example of that is, so I'm in Knock. I'm trying to speak to people at the door about the mass immigration and these issues, and then the Belmont, suddenly it appears on the horizon as an IPAS centre. So then we had 2 nights down at the Belmont, attending public meetings there, which again was really bizarre because we're in a local election, so there were politicians there, trying to milk it for votes. So I ended up at the Belmont, running for in the local area, telling them to stop thinking about the vote. Nobody that, I felt really bad for the people there, because the questions they were asking was along the lines, they were kind of trying to say, which one of you do we need to vote for to get the Belmont stop becoming an IPAS centre? Which, the answer is none of us. That's way off in the future. None of that's going to. So point I'm trying to make is I end up sitting there saying, look, forget about the voting on that. That's not going to solve the problem here. And my campaign's just been like that. It's kind of been this unscripted. Every time I kind of think to myself, okay, am I going to have to plan a couple of days? Something else just happens. Posters been an absolute nightmare for me. I'm pretending I'm only about to get them up because I don't want to annoy people all week. That's not true. Lessons were learned there. So I'm going to put up some posters. I think I have like 12 to put up. Done some canvassing again, learned a lot of lessons there. So I've done all the kind of the standard things that one would do in a political campaign. But it's been interspread with all these weird little things that are happening, events that are happening, protests that are happening, going to these, trying to canvass at the same time. It's been a very surreal experience for me. But all in all, I would have to say it's going really well. I won't lie to you. I won't be sad now in a week's time whenever we can get to stop doing this. But no, it's been very, very positive. As I say, if you want actual details of what I've been up to, thanks be to God, I have the YouTube channel recording all that, and yeah, so that's my quick summary of the whole campaign. Absolute craziness, surreal insanity.
Good man. All right. I'm going to bring everyone just up on the stage here. I'm going to ask one final question. I'll start with yourself, Garie, if that's all right. And that is a message that you have to your voters there in Ballina. You can speak directly to them for a minute or so there.
My message is that top-down politics doesn't work for the people of Ballina. And that's been proof in the pudding over the last 4 years especially. We've been railroaded left, right and centre, and we're not getting to saying anything. The same people are running again. The same people think they're going to get in again, and the same people you won't see for 5 years. Well, you'll see me every day of the week. I'm walking this campaign. I'm funding this campaign all by myself. I'm meeting so many people, and actually, it's been good for me too. I've lost a bit of weight, and I feel a little bit fitter. But this experience, and it is an experience, and Aron has said it there as well. Things are happening so quickly and so fast. And for the people of Ballina, if you want to know what's going on, and not just Ballina, this the whole North Mayo area. If you want to know what's going on, these guys aren't going to tell you if you put them back in. They haven't told you anything so far. If you want answers, if you want questions, if you want a foot at that table, a seat at that table, then you have to be voting independent on June 7th. And you have to make June 7th Independence Day. That's what it's about. Get rid of them. Uni party ain't working. They're not going to do anything for you. They work for their system. They work for themselves and their parties. They don't work for the people. What you need is people who work for you. And that's what independence is.
Fair play. That's great, Garie. Thank you. Marion, I might come to you next if you don't mind. If you could speak directly to the voters in the Swinford and surrounding area, Swinford LEA, what would you like to say to them?
I think what I'd like to say is a lot of my opponents, not a lot of the candidates that are currently running, they have fabulous campaigns. They have been out campaigning for the last number of months. They have lovely posters, lovely media. They have the media sorted, and they've managed. But it's your money. It's our tax money. I don't think we can honestly allow our children and our grandchildren. We want to be able to look into their eyes and to say to them that we've done everything we can to hold on to our properties, to our homes, to our houses, to our culture, to our religion, to our education, to theirs. We owe it to the people who've gone ahead of us, who fought and died for Ireland. We owe it to them to not let this happen in our watch. There's more of us than there are of them. People are being hoodwinked. It's easy. First, just switch off RTE. Start critically thinking for yourself. Start talking to your neighbour. Don't be afraid to talk to your neighbour. Vote independent. You know, the lads they've all had their chance. They've lied. They haven't told the truth. They've financially benefited from a lot of the stuff that they've brought in, the biogas, the forestries, the 5G towers. Like, it goes on, the pharmaceutical, the Pfizers, the everything, the doctors, the undertakers. There's very few professions that haven't somehow benefited, and that's kept them quiet. But that'll all be remembered in history. So we need the people of Swinford now need to say, no, that's enough. Enough is enough. We want the whole lot of them out. We want new ones in. It can't be any worse than it is. We want transparency. We want accountability. We want to know where the money is coming from, where it's going, and who makes the decision. Just vote independent. Vote for the lads in Castlebar if you're in the Castlebar area. Vote for the lads in Swinford and Ballina and Claremorris. You know, wherever you see independent, as in our side for independence, vote for us and the Irish people if you can at all. And we won't let you down. You cannot. You have to take the chance. You can't let this happen. That we go through another 4 years of this corruption. That's it.
Thank you very much, Marion. Fair play to you. I'll come to yourself, Joe, next, if that's all right. And speak. Hold on a sec, Joe. Have you muted there, I think? Or you might have to unmute yourself. Just speak directly to the voters of Ballina there, Joe. Maybe it's me here. Hold on a second. No, you've muted yourself there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, have you, Joe?
I'm back on, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, well, I'm on the ground. I'm talking to everyone. They know what I'm about. They know I'm up for the fight. I'm going to do the best to get rid of all the corruption I can. And I'm going to make the people in so-called power accountable for what they're doing. We need to get more people involved in running local communities, and we need to reduce the power of so-called politicians. I'm not in favour of the length of time they get in office and the remit they get to do what they want. So yeah, it's accountability. It's time for a new era. And it's time to bring down the rotten system that's there and end the genocide that's taken place in Ireland. There's too many victims. You know, justice is a thing of the past. We're being run by greedy, and that's affecting the needy. So we need to get a fair and level playing field for all. It's time that the good people got a vote and went out and did good things, because for long enough you've had pure evil running this country. And the mainstream parties are just gone OTT. They're actually, you know, they're in fantasy land at the minute. So they need to be brought down to earth as well. But, you know, they still need to be made accountable for the actions and the damage they have done to people in this country. We have a system of corrupt judges, corrupt Garie, corrupt legals, corrupt legislators in government, and it's all designed for them to make money and enslave us and keep us down. So I'm going to do my bit. I've been fighting for 24 years, so I'm not going to stop now. So the fight continues. So people, momentum has gathered behind me in the fight. So, you know, I appreciate that, and let's keep the fight. Let's continue the fight. So I'd appreciate your vote to do that. Thanks a million.
Thanks very much, Joe. And Aron, last but not least, maybe you'll speak to the electorate there in Claremorris and tell them why they should vote for you.
Yeah, I think I need to actually probably split this into two. So first of all, I want to address the Claremorris electorate that are, look, this word we use, awake, but completely disillusioned with politics. Look, I get that, but and it's these words stick in my throat, to be honest, because I can't believe I'm A, that I'm running, and B, that I'm saying this. But this election is incredibly important. This is the springboard, if you like, to the Nationals kind of later on this year. We need a metric of how many of us there are. So if you're awake to the corruption, you're awake to what's going on in this country, but you're, voting's a waste of time and that. If you're registered to vote, now is the time to use that vote. And not just yourself, but if you have neighbours that you know also are awake, but they're disillusioned with politics, try and convince them. I know it sounds horrible. I just sound like one of those gobshite politicians. Get out and vote for me. But look, this is really, really important. So for those people, look, please, look, just give us one chance at this. Look at the people on this stream here tonight, and imagine you had 5 or 6 of those in your county council. Change could happen. And then for the other people in Claremorris who either don't know me or just know me as a crazy protester or whatever, or not so sure about me at all, I would say to those people, look, I get it, but you can see what has happened to this country under Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin and Greens. It's going to get worse. You're going to get 5 more years of it. Surely, no matter kind of what you think of me personally, surely you can see we need new blood in here. We need to try something different. The definition of insanity is do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So if you're going to vote Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin or Greens, there's a level of insanity there about that. So that's it. If you want to know more of what I'm about, I think the YouTube channel at this point really does give the complete picture of me. So by all means, have a look at that. If you agree with me, absolutely give me a number 1. But if you are one of these people, local politics tends to be your vote for the guy you know or the guy from your area. Nobody seems to be reading policies at all. So just say, look, if you are going to do that, I know, say Meehall down the road or whatever, then look, if you are going to do that, at least give us a transfer, at least give us a number 2, and give us a chance to get in there and actually make some change. Thanks, Marion.
Okay, thanks very much. And thank you, everybody, for joining me here tonight on the show. I just wanted to show the people of Mayo some of the candidates that are running around the place. Independents here. Aron and Marion are part of the Irish People. It's a newly formed political party. It's a loose alliance of independents. There's no strong whip system. And I'd be very supportive of that party and what they're trying to do. And then you have Garie, Beattie and Joe Ducey, not Joe Daly. Joe Daly is running here for People Before Profit in Castlebar. I'm looking forward to seeing how myself and Joe get on the day. I'm running in Castlebar, obviously, as an independent as well. Garie Beattie's losing his... You're having a good laugh there, Garie. But yeah, as I was saying there, Garie and Joe are running as independents in Ballina, and I know the two men for many a year now, and they're decent men. And if anybody's out there, this is, as Aron has said and others have said, a very, very important election. So when you're running as an independent, it's difficult. Like, I'm lucky to some extent because of the Irish Inquiry over the last couple of years. I have somewhat of a following there, and we've been able to do a GoFundMe account. And myself and Suzanne, my partner, who's running in Blanchardstown, have brought in the guts of nearly 10,000 euro, which we split between our two campaigns. But it's not like that for most independent candidates. It's not that easy. So if you're in and around any of these areas, Claremorris, Swinford, Ballina, and you know any of these people, or even if you don't, do your best to get in touch with them. We'll put email addresses in the description for all the lads and lassies on tonight. And if you think you can help them in any way in the next week in the run up to the election, please get in touch with them because they could use your support. And I don't think there's anything else to say, really, only to wish everybody here the very best of luck. And to everybody watching, as it's been said already, vote independents. Forget all the mainstream parties. Forget Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Forget Labour and the Greens. Forget People Before Profit, Sinn Féin, the Soc Dems. Forget all of them, all those mainstream parties. Look at the independents first. Independents who you know. A lot of these independents have been doing stuff on the ground in their local areas for years now. So they do have somewhat of a track record, most of these people. If there are no independents, look at some of these smaller kind of centre-right leaning parties that have sprung up over the last year, and give them a vote. And don't give any preference vote to any of the mainstream parties. That's most important. Don't put them anywhere on the ballot. Don't give them a mark at all. So I just want to thank everybody again. Thank you all for joining me tonight, and I wish you all the best on June the 7th. And yes, that's really all there is to be said. So thanks again for joining us, and good luck. Take care, folks.
Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Fair play to you. Cheers.
Good luck.